This is Carla Marie's Breast Explant Journey.
Okay, well, if you haven't figured it out by now, I am getting my breast implants removed. And if you didn't know, I got breast implants about 10 and a half years ago. And there's going to be a lot to break down in this podcast, my breast explant journey. It's going to be a mini series about my pre and post-op experience. It's not only going to be me on every episode. I'm going to have experts come on, doctors, advocates, other women that have had breast explants to share their stories. And I welcome all of your questions. You can email me, hello@carlamarieandanthony.com. Just put boobs in the subject line. Trust me, it'll be the easiest way for me to figure out what it is. And if you just found this podcast while you were searching for breast explant info or breast implant illness info, hi, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Carla Marie. I've spent the last 15 years of my life in media, whether it's being a producer and on-air contributor at Elvis Duran and The Morning Show, to having my own morning show, The Carla Marie and Anthony Show, on the radio in Seattle. Now I live stream 3 days a week on Twitch and YouTube. It's still The Carla Marie and Anthony Show. We have a daily podcast, The Morning Show podcast. I am the in-game host for the Seattle Seahawks. I obviously have this podcast, and I've launched like 5 other podcasts at some point in my life. I have 4 cats. That's basically my whole identity right there. Important information. But yeah, hi, that's me. Nice to meet you. I'll put some more info about myself in the description of this podcast. You can always follow me on all social media. It's at the Carla Marie. I got to give a quick shout out to my friend Sam. That's the voice you heard at the beginning of this podcast. And to my partner and producer of this podcast, Anthony, for putting all of it together. Something I need to cover right up front before I really get into it. This is not a medical podcast. I am not a medical expert, nor do I claim to be. I will not be giving you medical advice, so don't try to take anything as advice from this podcast when it comes to the medical side of things. If you believe you have similar symptoms or just a situation similar to mine, talk to your doctor. I am simply sharing my journey about what I'm going through. I'm not doing this podcast to tell women not to get breast implants. I'm sure some of my guests will say that. That is their opinion. I'm not setting out to stop women from getting implants at all. I'm setting out to educate them on information that I didn't know when I made my decision over 10 years ago, 11 years ago, to get implants in my body. It is your body. You do whatever you want. Now, this overall topic is serious. Yes, breast implant illness is making women sick all over the world. And I know body image will also be discussed on this podcast, and that's also a serious subject. However, I do not take myself seriously, and I will do my best to keep this as fun as it can be while sharing my journey. I mean, look at the logo. It's deflated balloons. And with all of that said, why am I getting my breast implants removed? Well, there are a few reasons, and I will be completely honest. The first time the idea of having them removed seriously popped into my head, it was a cosmetic reason. I felt that they were too big. And that was a little over 3 years ago at this point. Since getting my implants at 25 years old, I have gained weight, as we all do. I have probably gained more than 20 pounds at this point from my surgery date till today. And that means my boobs are much bigger than they were. I'm someone who has always gained weight in my breasts first. And at the time of implanting, I was going on 2 years of being so skinny, like skinny to a point that it was a weight I would not want to be now. And I, looking back, don't really think it was that healthy, but I barely had any breast tissue. So yes, the first reason I wanted them out was because they were big and making me feel even bigger than I was. But there is a much bigger, get it, reason at play here. Around 2016, I first heard about something called breast implant illness. My friend Dina was telling me about one of her clients who went to Ohio to have her implants removed because she believed they were making her sick. And at the time, there was barely any information on breast implant illness when you Googled it. There were some reports saying, hey, this may be a thing, but some doctors don't believe it's real. We're unsure. But now, breast implants come with a black box warning. And that all changed around 2021, I believe. Unfortunately, there is no test to find out if someone is positive or negative for breast implant illness. There are over 40 symptoms that have been reported in relation to breast implant illness, and most of them tend to be autoimmune related, and it makes perfect sense. I mean, we put a foreign object in our bodies, and what is our body going to do? It's going to reject it. Women have been misdiagnosed. They've been gaslit by doctors and kind of left to discover things on their own. But as we do, we figure it out. So over recent years, breast implant illness has become more and more known, to the point where there are some plastic surgeons that will no longer implant any silicone or saline in anyone's bodies. And one of those doctors is mine. His name is Dr. Rankin at Aqua Plastic Surgery in Jupiter, Florida, and he is one of the best out there. Women fly from all over the world to go see him, and he's booked normally a year and a half out. The only way I was able to get an appointment was by getting on the cancellation list, and I actually had to say no to my first option because I was busy and couldn't make it, but I am officially getting my breast implants removed on May 23rd, 2024, and it cannot come fast enough. So yes, I do believe I have breast implant illness. There's no rule that says you have to have X amount of symptoms in order to say you have BII. One symptom caused by your implants is enough to say they're causing an issue and they need to be removed. So during my consult, when I went to go see Dr. Rankin in Florida a few months ago, Dee Hicks, the patient care coordinator for Dr. Rankin, confirmed what I have thought for a while. My left breast is starting to form a double bubble. And I don't mean the bubble gum. It's not as fun as that. That's when the breast implant doesn't align properly with the bottom of your breast tissue. And so it's kind of like falls down, I guess is the best way to describe it. Creates a bulge or a bubble under your breast, and mine's starting to do that. And by the way, Dee, who I just mentioned, has advocated for women who believe they have breast implant illness. She's trying to make it more known, and she's going to be on a future episode. I'm really excited to talk to her. I believe that I have about 30 symptoms on the breast implant illness list of symptoms. My first symptoms started, I don't know, probably close to 4 years ago at this point, and that first symptom was shooting pains in the sides of my breast and underneath. And I'm talking like ice picks stabbing me. I even went for an ultrasound and they said that everything looked like it was in place, but I was still getting these pains. And I still have them now 4 years later. And at a minimum, I get at least one sharp pain a day. But at the most, it's constant for about 30 minutes. And my surgeon, Dr. Rankin, he thinks that the capsule could actually be attached to my ribs. And I'll explain more what a capsule is in another episode, but quick definition is it's a layer of thickened scar tissue that your body creates around your implants. So he thinks that is stuck to my ribs. Yay. I will share a full list of the symptoms related to BII, as well as some other information, like an incredible Facebook group of over 188,000 women who help one another through this. All of that is in the description of this podcast. Okay, I wanted to share some of my symptoms that I believe are related to breast implant illness and having these implants in my body. The first one, and it's actually a bit wild, but if you watch the Carla Marie and Anthony show live on Twitch or YouTube, you actually know about this one without knowing why it was happening. Chronic sinusitis. Yeah, so a lot of women experience sneezing, sinus infections, ear infections, and more, and there's no end in sight. I've done everything I could to try to cure it, and it's not allergies. The only thing that keeps it kind of at bay right now is double dosing Zysol. Remember when I said this wasn't a medical podcast? Yeah, don't do what I do. So I double dose Zysol. That's an over-the-counter antihistamine every day. And then on bad days where it's like I can't control it even with doing that, I have to take a prescription antihistamine, which you're not supposed to take every day, so I don't. But those are the only things getting me through right now. My nostrils can actually get so inflamed sometimes that I can feel them touching. Breathing out of my nose is definitely hard. Sometimes I hear a little whistle because the nose cavity is so tight. Another thing women often talk about is coming out of surgery and feeling like they can take a deep breath for the first time in forever. And that's crazy to me. Some implants removed from women's bodies are full of mold, and chronic sinusitis is a symptom of mold. I don't know if there's mold in mine. I won't know until they come out. I'm not sure. But this is probably one of my worst symptoms, and it's actually the most debilitating because when I have a bad day, I just have to lay in bed because it's just sneeze after sneeze after sneeze, and you can't really do anything when that's happening, especially when your job is being on camera. The next symptom that I believe I have is pretty scary. Over the last year, I have experienced heart palpitations fairly often. I'll be super calm and haven't had any caffeine in hours, and boom, my heart races out of nowhere. I've also experienced shooting pains in my left breast, where your heart is, which is different than the ice pick pains. I could tell they're just a different kind of pain, and that's obviously very concerning. I have had heart tests, and they all come back negative for issues, which is great, but something is definitely off. And I actually had no idea that heart palpitations were a symptom of breast implant illness until a friend had her implants removed and told me that that was actually her number one symptom. And she never had a heart palpitation again after getting them removed. And that friend is Lala. She's a former radio host, and the only reason I know of Dr. Rankin because she removed her implants with him. Lala will be joining me on an episode to talk about her explant journey, so make sure you come back for that one. Another super fun symptom is extreme exhaustion, fatigue, and memory loss. Yeah, all three of those, putting them together. No matter what I do, I could sleep at any moment of the day. And sure, that can have something to do with getting older, but I'm healthy other than this, and I shouldn't be exhausted around the clock. Also, I can't remember anything anymore. It's actually kind of scary. Names, words, that's super hard to recall, and I've never been like this. In 2022, I was diagnosed with SIBO, that's small intestine bacterial disorder. That's when you have excess bacteria in your small intestine. It causes pain in your stomach, and it makes it difficult to absorb nutrients. Well, I recently found out, literally had no idea, that women with BII are often diagnosed with SIBO or IBS. Some women say that they have food allergies that they developed when they have their implants, and once they get them removed, they're not allergic to that food anymore. And I do have food allergies and intolerances. A lot of them, though, did start before I got my implants, but curious to see what changes after. In October 2013, a few weeks after I got my implants, my chest and breasts were covered in a rash. I'm lucky as it only lasted a few days, maybe a week, but some women with extreme breast implant illness will have full body rashes that just don't go away. And now thinking back, I think it was my body telling me something was off and kind of rejecting the implants, and my body knew I put something in there that wasn't supposed to be there. Some other symptoms that I have are trouble swallowing and choking. So that's fun. That'll randomly happen. I'll randomly choke on my spit. I'll wake up choking. Dry and painful eyes. I kept thinking it was from staring at screens, but it would happen on days when I wouldn't be at a screen. And then I found out that was another symptom. Shortness of breath. That's a scary one. And hair loss. So yeah, really cool things I'm having happen over here. What's wild though is that it's hard to figure out which of these things I've had in the last 10 years and which of them are new in the last 10 years and what I've had even before that. Because I definitely had stomach issues before I got my implants, but were they made worse by having the implants? Do I think I'm going to wake up from surgery as a brand new person? Absolutely not. I am fully aware that none of these symptoms or issues may go away, but either way, I want these things out of me. There's no reason to have silicone in my body knowing what it can do, even if it hasn't done that already. However, there are plenty of women that come out of surgery, open their eyes, and say they feel better than ever, and they're still on anesthesia, which makes you feel like crap. There are also women who talk about losing weight in their first week because they were so inflamed because their body just had so much inflammation from the implants being inside. And some women say it took months to a year for their body to fully detox. But I can't wait to feel what my real adult body is like. I was only 25 years old when I got these in, and I'm 36 years old now. I have no idea what I'm actually supposed to feel like, and that's scary and exciting at the same time. I'm very grateful I have had friends who have been through this. That Facebook group that I mentioned is awesome to bounce things off of because you can start to feel a bit crazy in this process because, like I said, there is no way to actually test yes or no if you have this. And while each symptom for me personally isn't the absolute worst thing ever, when you compile all these together, it can really make you feel awful. Recovery. What is recovery like? I know that's what you've probably been thinking about. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into this at this moment because I'll probably do an episode about this specifically, but here's a quick rundown. I will have drains in my body for about the first week. They'll be collecting fluid and closing up the space where the implant was. So that'll be an interesting experience. The recovery will actually be a bit different whether I need a breast lift or not. After my consult with Dr. Rankin, he said he doesn't think I'll need a breast lift, but he will decide when I'm under anesthesia. He'll actually prop me up and make the decision, and I'm going to get him on this podcast. I want to talk to him about how he decides that. For the first 3 weeks after surgery, I can't get my heart rate too elevated. I can't lift more than 5 pounds for 2 weeks. And I have to have T-Rex arms, so arms at my side for 2 weeks as well. And for 3 months post-op, I can't work on my pec muscles at all. And I go to the gym like 6 days a week. So I'm going to be going on a lot of walks. And you know what's crazy? I can't even pick up my cats. They're all over 5 pounds. So 2 weeks of no picking up my cats. My parents, they'll be coming with me to Florida for the surgery and staying for a few days. And then my partner, Anthony, he'll be joining me for the rest of it. I'm also going to have him on a later episode because I think it'll be really interesting to hear from someone who's in a relationship with a person who is changing their body. And I don't say this in a mean way. It's not that his opinion matters because it's my body, but obviously, I think it will be cool to hear his point of view and what he's nervous about, if anything, in this process. I know you're probably wondering the type of implant I have. I've gotten that question a lot over the years. People reach out to me wanting to know about breast implants. And by the way, since 2016, since I found out about breast implant illness, anytime anyone reaches out to me about getting breast implants, I always tell them, please research this. I didn't know about it when I got mine in. The implants that I have are the Mentor Profile Plus. They're also known as the Gummy Bear implant. They've actually been causing a decent amount of issues for women in recent years. They are silicone and not saline, so they're not like straight up liquid. It's kind of, they describe to me as if you cut open a gummy bear, but honestly now, fast forward, I actually know it's a bit more squishier than that, so it can leak into your body. But when I got them in, they were considered quote unquote safer than saline. And as much research as I did when I was about to get my implants, nothing about any of this came up. I knew there were chances of my body rejecting them and that they could fall a little bit inside, but I did not know about breast implant illness because it wasn't really known at that time. And I was told my implants would be good for 10 years. But if they don't bother you, then you never need to take them out. That is what I was told. But as of 2021, the FDA recommends getting an MRI 5 to 6 years after your surgery, and then every 2 to 3 years after that. And I've never had an MRI specifically on my breasts. Why did I get implants in the first place? Well, the answer I've always said is the truth. I just wanted big boobs. I never had them, and I wanted them. Obviously, society made us obsessed with big boobs as a kid in the 90s. That's all you ever wanted. I do think it's a bit different for kids today, so that's kind of cool. My boobs were also a little misshaped. They were pointy, I guess is the best way to describe it. I don't know if they're going to look like that when I get the implants removed, but honestly, I don't really care. Whatever happens, happens at this point. I never got the implants originally thinking it would give me confidence. I've always been a very confident person. I'm grateful for that. So everyone gets implants for different reasons, and whatever that reason is, that's on them. There's no need to judge anyone for getting them in or getting them out. So with all of this said, I hope that the Itty Bitty Titty Committee accepts me back. And if you have any questions about this process, reach out to me, hello@CarlaMarieandAnthony.com. Put boobs in the subject line. And if you've been through this and you want to share your story, I would love to hear from you. Thank you for letting me be open and honest. Thank you for letting me share my original journey with you of getting the implants in. I mean, it has been a wild ride, and a lot of you have been here with me for 15 years. So it's just another chapter in our journey together. I will see you back here with episode number 2 of my breast explant journey with me, Carla Marie.